We've all heard the adage, what we don't know can't hurt you. But is that entirely true? To hear one perspective, Mark, who is giving his second speech tonight, shares some anecdotal observations that demonstrate why sometimes life can surprise us because of something we didn't know. Let's welcome Mark to our lecture.
Excellent introduction. Good evening, Madam President, DTM Nick, fellow Toastmasters, most welcome guests. So I was thinking a bit about communication and how important it is to be able to get messages out to people, because communication basically becomes important because sometimes we have a need to know information about something in order to get through some task, or we just want to know. And so I'm going to give three anecdotal explanations or examples in my life. Many years ago, when my daughter was born, the first day we met her, we were at the hospital, and the hospital staff ran up to us, and they had their hands outstretched, and they were ready to shake our hands and say congratulations. And then one of the members of the staff had a little blue book. And I said, well, what's that? And they said, well, this is your daddy's handbook, your daddy's handy way to take care of your daughter, how to change her diapers, how to make things comfortable at home for mom, and just make this transition in your life a really good change for everybody in your home. To myself, I thought, wow, this is really great. This is all I need to know. We get home, we take the baby home, nice, comfortable setting, mom is there, everybody's happy. It's wintertime, turn the heat on. We lived up in North Carolina, so it was a little chilly. But what I found out when we got home was that my daughter, because she had spent 75% of a year inside of my wife, didn't know who I was. I was like an intruder in the house. And that scared me. It took a long time before she ever warmed up to me. And in fact, I'll propose to each and every one of you that if my daughter had the strength in her hands and the eye-hand dexterity to dial a cell phone, she would have called 911 and got the Broward police to pull me out of there. Luckily, years went by, we became much closer together, and happy family, That's one story. If I had known in the beginning, if I had the message communicated to me that might happen, that wouldn't have been such a shock, but I didn't know. So something I didn't know kind of hurt me. Fast forward, many years later, I moved to Florida about 6 years ago, so I'm sort of a newbie, now I'm becoming a veteran. It was culture shock, and there were two mentions tonight about traffic, one over here and one over here. Somebody stuck in traffic earlier. When I got here, I was actually a safety hazard to everybody else that lived in Florida because I was driving by something called by the book. So in North Carolina, we have these decorative, well, we don't think they're decorations, but decorative octagonal-shaped red signs, and it says STOP. Our inflection, we might have Southern accent, but our inflection is different. Our sign says stop. When you come to South Florida, it says stop. And so when I would get to intersections, I started to realize I have to look at my rear view to see if they're going by the book too. Many people were not, so I started to kind of not stop anymore because I didn't want to have an accident. That was, once again, something that had I known about for South Florida drivers and driving, and I'm not saying it's bad, it's just a different dance in a different part of the country. But it would have been a great thing to know, something that could have been communicated to me. But I settled in, got used to the cadence here, and now I'm a happier driver. Scared still sometimes, but happier. My last anecdotal piece I want to tell you about, a little heavier, a little sadder, but it goes back to communicating with people and how important it is to talk to each and every other person that you might come into contact with. My mom and I had a really, really close relationship. She was probably the one person in the world that I loved the most. And we would get on these calls after my dad passed away. Almost every month I would call her a couple times a month, and on and off on Saturdays or Sundays we would just talk on and off all day long. Because she was alone up in Philadelphia, it's wintertime, it's 10 degrees. I'm somewhere in the South enjoying nice weather like we have. So I wanted to stay in touch with her and make sure everything was going okay. So we talk a couple times a month. One day, my brother gave me a call. I pick up the phone, I go, hey, what's going on? It's him and his son, Jordy, are calling on the phone. And he says, hey, Mark, have you heard from Mom lately? We're at her door. We deliver the groceries to the house weekly. so she has what she needs, but we're not getting an answer at the door. And optimistic me, I said, don't worry about it. She's just in the bath. She's, just taking a little bit longer in the bath. We hang up. A couple hours later, he gave me a ring back. He said, Mark, we couldn't get in through the front door. We had to break a window on the side of the house. We got inside the house. We didn't see Mom right away, but Jordy found her, and I don't have good news. She's no longer with us. When my brother said that to me, it was like somebody had taken their fist and they just punched it straight through me, and I had a hole in my heart that I still have today. But what I realized when we had that discussion and we felt what we felt was that when you're around people that you care about and you are communicating to people that you love, never take it for granted to communicate to them the way you feel, because it's the things that we don't communicate that we're going to regret never having said. Mr. Toastmaster?